Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
Dot, I assume Tom.
I've been watching this man's career ever since I was a child, from Ghostbusters into my teen years with The Crow, and here we are, more importantly, talking now the spin-off sequel series to Quantum Leap, but of the same name. Ernie Hudson, how are you today?
I am very, very good. Thank you. And how are you?
I am great. You look very comfortable. I'm jealous of that chair.
Yeah, it is a comfortable chair. And I'm sure it's more interesting background, but this is it.
So long as you're comfortable and you're happy, that's all we care about. And the fact that you're still working is even more important.
Well, thank you. I just feel very blessed to, still being called, and they're still paying me. So,
well, that's even more important, is that the check's clear.
Right.
And with NBC, I don't think you're going to have that problem, as this is a spin-off series to the original Quantum Leap, where you play Herbert Magic Williams, a Vietnam vet, that the character was actually introduced in the original series.
Yeah, my character has been someone who, has been troubled by this whole leap thing. He's a career military guy, and once he makes admiral, he really sort of digs deep into it and find out about this project that has been shut down, and manages to, pull a lot of strings and get it back up. And so, but there's a lot, there's having to please a lot of people to make this happen. And so that's what my involvement. I run the program, but of course, because you realize the potential of what the Quantum Leap can do. Dr. Ben Song, who's played by Raymond Lee, who's amazing. He's the one who basically does the leaps. And very similar to the original series, where every week it was about a different leap. But this iteration, we get to see all of that goes into being able to keep this project afloat, and all the dangers that come with that.
Do we also, at some point, this is my own fanboy experience, of course, or dream notion, see what happens to Admiral Williams when Sam leaped into him, and now he's kind of in this out-of-body experience?
Well, yeah, we get this. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the studio would rather you see all that, everything that goes on. First, I got a note saying, don't talk about the character being in the original series. I'm like, yeah, but you already put out a press release, so I'm not going to talk about what everybody already knows. But so I think, watch the show. It won't take that long. It won't be that many episodes to find out, but definitely there's a lot of connections to the original series.
Well, what I appreciate about this, and also with the Wonder Years, is that it was not a direct reboot. They are sequel series or spin-off series that are adjacent to the original or a continuation of the original. And
Right.
That was my initial fear with Wonder Years, was that it was just going to be a complete reboot. But now to see that they were in the South and it was a whole different experience going on in the same time period made it more powerful. And now 30 years later, for Admiral Williams to be back around, and this continued project or the resurgence of it, makes Quantum Leap something I really want to see.
Yeah, I think, and it's really good. I mean, like Raymond Lee, because my biggest concern was, Scott Bakula. I mean, he's so charming. He was so good in the original series. How do you replace that? Because a large part of it is him. But Raymond Lee is, he's in his own way just as dynamic. And when I met him, I just said, okay, we're going to be fine, because he really is just one of those really special actors. And of course, now 30 years, technology has advanced. We're asking ourselves questions that we weren't asking back then. And I think it's a perfect time for the show. And I think the fans of the original show will really be pleasantly surprised. The writing is amazing, and I'm excited.
Well, the original incarnation had its dramatic moments, its comedic moments, and it found a balance between the two. And this is what we're really hoping for with this series.
Yeah, and you need an actor who really kind of embodies that, and Raymond Lee does. I mean, he's he's just one of those really special actors. And I don't normally spend a lot of time talking about actors, but he really is special. And I'm so happy that he's doing this with me. But the rest of the cast is pretty extraordinary as well. So the writing is great, and NBC is really taking the time to make sure they get it right, not just taking the title and just throwing something out there. And to me, that's really important.
It seems that when they do something like this, it's important to you that, as you mentioned, that they keep in tone with the original, but not just some cheap carbon copy. Was that the main selling point for you of, look, it's going to be in tone with the original, we're going to keep true to its roots, but it's obviously a fresh coat of paint?
That we it is an extension. It's not a reboot. I've been in that reboot situation, and no, that's done. What else are we doing? But also, I think when they asked me, and they said, well, because the first thing you go to is, am I going to be part of the lead? I don't want to be on a show where I'm just kind of taking a paycheck. So the fact that there is all of those elements that are making this project stay afloat, and there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of drama connected to that, and that the character is utilized. That was really very, very important to me, and also I think it ties a lot into now. It's not just so much looking back into the past, but what's going on in our world now. With people hacking and people, bad players. Right now there's a war going on that could expand. There's the climate. We got a lot of stuff happening, to say nothing of a country that doesn't really know which way it's going to go. So all those elements defines who we are now, and I think in some ways they're addressed on the show.
Well, you're definitely right. Sometimes we don't know up from down, especially in this political climate. But we are looking for something that's going to entertain us, and I do believe Quantum Leap is going to do that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. When the project is in development, and you see the early stages of it, and then to see the final cut, or at least a rough cut of what you've been working on, how fulfilling is that for you from inception to final product, to see the evolution of your original thoughts on the character when reading the script to how you've performed it on screen?
Well, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm trusting that it'll be everything that I'm pretty. But a lot of it has to do with just trusting the people, because I'm not editing it. I'm not directing it. I'm not sitting in the studio room when they're making all these choices. So you got to trust a lot of people to do the work, but then trust that they will do, they'll handle it well, because, you'll do 5 takes and somebody might decide to use the worst one that you have no control over. But I have a lot of faith in this team. I'll be seeing it with the audience, because I haven't seen the final cut, but hopefully it'll, all come out the way it should. I'm pretty sure this is. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say
sometimes you work on a project where there's reasons. Sometimes they don't have the money to do it right, or sometimes you get a creative team that doesn't get along, and so they have a whole other But none of those things are at play here.
So let's say Ernie Hudson gets the option to leap in real life, but there's no glitches. It's in and out. Where and who would you want to leap into if you possibly could?
Geez, I don't know. Most of the people, historical, we get this romantic version, and then you start digging deeper and you realize there's some pretty challenging lives. I don't know if I want to take any of that on. I don't want to be sitting on George Washington's horse. It's like, but I think if I leaped anywhere, I would love to, knowing what I know now about American history, to go back to a time when my parents somehow found each other and got together, because when I was born, neither one were. My mom had died. My dad I never met my dad, but I'd be curious to see how that union came together to create me. I know there were pressures that I can't even imagine, but that world is as foreign to me as anything. So I'd be really curious to look into that, how I got here,
I like that because some people would have sat there and go, "I want to be Napoleon for 48 hours." It was like, let's slow down for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I don't want to be Napoleon. I don't think I've ever seen anybody. I've never really wanted to be someone else. I haven't saw anybody where I went like, man, I wish I could be him. Ali, when he was at his prime, is in the ring and he knocks out some guy. And I fought Golden Gloves, and the couple of little knockouts I had, there's something really, there's an adrenaline rush that is, one of those moments. But then now I'm old enough to not want to knock anybody out, so I'm not sure I'd like that. But
more importantly, not be knocked out
and not be looking up at somebody. Yeah, no, it's some amazing things, but life is good. I think to get to be you, I mean, that's the real exciting thing, because you get to choose the light or the darkness, and then to live long enough to realize that you're choosing all the time.
Well, you have your own built-in fan base, whether it was from Ghostbusters or Crow or even Oz, and all the work that you've done over these years, this body that's manifested into, saved on digitally now, but originally on celluloid. Do you ever go back and see some of those performances to watch yourself evolve as an actor? And then on top of that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. On top of that,
finish. And then on top of that, how sci-fi and fantasy and comic books have been such a part of your life on screen, at least indirectly in comparison to so many other aspects.
Yeah, you start out, you never know what's going to how it's going to unfold, and it's so I never really take the time. I always tell myself one holiday or I'll sit down and just sort of play back, stuff from 40 years ago and revisit. I haven't done that yet, but yeah, I love sci-fi. That sort of creative space. If there's any disappointment, I would love to have been a part of that Marvel, universe. I mean, that would have been fun to do. I mean, I'd say this is not that big a disappointment, but yeah, comics are so, I love comics as a kid, and yeah, it's such an amazing creative source. I've been watching Mason, I can't think of Mason's last name, who was in Sandman, and so I've been watching that whole Sandman comic series, and now it's a pretty creative medium, and it's something that's so wonderful to bring to film, and to be a part of any of those things is pretty special.
Well, I still watch The Crow at least once every 2 years, so I know what it means to me.
Yeah, The Crow. I'm so thankful to have been a part of. I know they're talking about doing more, but be a part of that original movie was tragic, but I'm so thankful that I was a part of it.
In preparing for the sequel of Quantum Leap, do you go back and revisit the original series from '89 to the early '90s just to see the tone of it and what was expected then to what we could do today?
Yeah, I did. I mean, like I said, I watched not every day, but I've seen episodes when it was out. We would watch. I have 4 sons. I would watch it with my kids, and so once I was a part of it, I have gone back and watched a lot of it. I didn't remember the final episode, which is surprising to me, the way it ended. But yeah, it helps kind of inform you. You know what I mean? Like I said, I realized that one of the key things is finding that central character, and I think the studio kind of looked up when they got Raymond, because I really think he's special. But yeah, I know why it was such a huge fan favorite, because you just have to watch some of the episodes, and you know, he was very. There was an innocence, there was a charm, there was a humor. All of that was there, and it was very special.
Yeah. Like the fan fiction that people are writing in their head is possibly, you know, Sam leaping home after 30 years and now assisting you in season 2, or leaping home for an episode and then getting lost again in the quantum leap, you know, the same way it ended in the original series. That's all the fan fiction that's going on in people's heads. So
yeah,
we're scared of what we built in our heads versus the reality sometimes.
Right. Yeah. And you hope that somebody will bring something that, you know, that's totally outside of what you imagine in your head, and yet doesn't disappoint. And so, I mean, I don't, Scott Bakula is a wonderful actor. I've been a fan of his for a long time. I love his work, but, and I know I would be really excited to see him leap onto our show. I don't know. I don't know, you know, where they are, if that's even a possibility, but, yeah, I'd love to see Sam, you know, make it home. Yeah, that would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, this series, there's this excitement that we all have for the series coming back, those of us that were fans of the original. And I have some friends that were absolutely obsessed with it when we were younger, that still will watch it as often as they can. I don't have that level of obsession, but I am excited for you and for the series. What do you think we're going to be able to expect in the coming season 1, now that we're going to be able to revisit the Quantum Leap series?
Yeah, you know, I think there was, and in the original, there was some things the machine couldn't do, in terms of time, you know, the time frame of which he could leap. I think that's been expanded. I won't say any more than that. The leaps are really exciting, and I think now, not just technology, but I think, you know, there's a different feel. The 80s and 90s shows, you know, had that kind of, they definitely had a certain feel to them. So just being updated, and yeah, and I think maybe it's more realistic, I don't know, in some ways, but so it's a little bit different. I think you know, the leaps are definitely exciting. So yeah, I think I don't think anybody will be disappointed.
I love it. Ernie, where can we find you on social media if we want to connect with you?
You know, I think there's I'm going to say something that's probably going to be embarrassing, but you know, I don't do a lot of social media. I'm at that age in life where I'm kind of go, you know what? I have a hard time figuring the TV out. My wife has to turn the thing on. I bought a new car, and it's so much technology in it. I'm like, how do I turn the radio up, the volume? It's like, and I realized after getting the car, I will never ever be able to do any of this stuff that's in this car. It has the potential, but so I don't really do a lot of social media. But there is Ernie Hudson, Ernie_Hudson at Twitter, and Ernie Hudson official on Instagram and whatever. And occasionally I'll take a look at it, or, you know, my publicist is always aware and will let me know if something major is happening, or we'll post some things. But yeah, no, I'm not. I miss that generation.
Well, at least on the bright side, we get to catch up with you on television September 19th on NBC with Quantum Leap. It's been a great pleasure chatting with you, and the first time seeing you in a conversation rather than being over the phone.
All right, great. Well, great talking to you, and just good luck, man, with everything you're doing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.